Hi, welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'll show you how to create an impressive product animation in After Effects. What's the best part? It's done without using any plugins. If you enjoy this kind of practical tutorial, leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Ready? Let's get started. I already have my composition prepared, so I'm adding a new solid right away. The color doesn't matter because we'll go to Effect and Presets and add Gradient Ramp. In my case, it will be a red gradient, and I set the type to Radial Ramp. Now it's time for the 3D model. I downloaded a Coca-Cola can model from CG Trader. We download it and drag the model onto the timeline. I click Make Comp Size to feed it to the composition. I rename the layer to Coke. Now in the Scale parameter, we can adjust the size of the can. Next step, the platform the product will stand on. In a recent update, the ability to create 3D objects directly in iFully was added. We go to the Tools panel at the top and choose Cylinder tool. I draw the cylinder in the preview and place it under the can. Let's go into the layer parameters. In Bevel options, I increase the radius so the edges are slightly rounded. In the Material panel, we can set a color, but I'll go a step further and use a ready-made material from Adobe Community Assets. I click the three lines and choose Get Substance Community Assets. This automatically redirects us to the texture page. To find the right material, I type Metal. There are several interesting materials here. I'll use Iron Powder Coated, which will work great. Click the texture and download it. We add it to the project panel, and now in the material drop-down menu, the texture should appear, we apply it. In this case, we can also adjust the color and fit the texture to our liking. Now, let's refine the positioning. I want the can to stand perfectly in the center of the platform, so in the position parameter, I enter the same value as the can. 960. We check the top view to see if the can is centered on the platform. Time to add lighting to make the scene more realistic. I right-click, choose New, then Light. A very important step here is selecting the light type. We set it to Environment. Also, make sure Cast Shadows is enabled. Otherwise, we won't get a shadow on the platform. To add realistic lighting, we need to add an HDR map. I downloaded mine from Polyhaven. You can test different lighting variations for the scene. The selected lighting needs to be downloaded, imported into the program, and added to the timeline. In the preview, we can enable environment light, and in source, we choose our HDR. In transform, we can adjust the angle of the light. Now it's time to create the can animation. Let's find the position parameter. We create keyframes at the beginning and at 1 second. At the start, move the can up off the preview screen. Next, we add animation to rotation, specifically Y and Z axis. I want the can to make a full rotation around its own axis. For now, it looks like this. To make the movement more natural, in Rotation Z at the beginning, I'll enter 10 degrees and set it to -20 in the middle of the fall. Select all keyframes and add Easy Ease by pressing F9. It seems to fall too quickly, so with all keyframes selected, I'll hold Alt on the keyboard and extend the animation to 2 seconds. Now, select the keyframes from Position and Rotation Y, go into the Graph Editor and adjust the speed at the beginning of the fall, so that the movement starts very fast and slows down over time. It should look like this. I create a similar animation for the platform. We also add easy ease and adjust the speed in the graph editor the same way as with the can. Once that's done, select the platform and can layers and create a composition from them. Now enable collapse transformations and 3D layer. Duplicate the can composition. Place it on the left side and in position increase the last parameter to move the can backward in space. As we can see, the platform is too short, so we go into that composition. Open the cylinder parameters and in Mesh Options increase the height. Position it under the can. Return to the main composition and move everything slightly downward. Duplicate and move to the opposite side. Now we have 3 falling cans. I'll offset the layers in time so they don't fall simultaneously. Unfortunately, we still need to slightly lower the platform because it becomes visible too early. So we go back into that composition. It's time to add a camera to our scene. I use a 2-node camera 55mm. We add a null to control the camera. Click on it, choose Camera and select Create Orbit Null. At the moment when the cans have already landed on the platform, we create a position animation that lasts about 2 seconds, where we create a strong zoom in and move the camera so that only the left can is visible. Add easy ease and in the graph editor, let the camera start slowly and accelerate toward the end. I want the specific can we're zooming in on to rotate during this time. One problem: if we simply go into the pre-composition and animate it, all cans will rotate. So in the project panel, we duplicate Coke and drag it onto that specific can while holding Alt, so it replaces the previous layer but keeps its position parameters. Now we can create a rotation animation just for this can. The animation starts and ends at the same time as the camera movement. In the graph editor, we also adjust it so it rotates slowly at the beginning and faster at the end. I'm starting to get lost in the composition names, so to make it easier, I rename the main composition to Render. Let's also make sure the Coca-Cola label on the can is centered. From these layers, we also create a pre-composition and add blur. To do this, add a new solid named Blur Map. Add gradient ramp to it, black and white radial type. On layer S1, I add the camera lens blur effect. In Blur Map, we select the gradient layer and set it as Effect and Mask. We can enable the solid's visibility, and now we have the blur effect ready. Now, set the playhead at the point where the camera movement begins and create an animation on the start of ramp parameter. Create keyframes there, but not on start color, only on start of ramp. And move the gradient so that when the camera zooms in on the left can, that can is in focus. I'll increase blur radius to 8. Time for advertising text. First, I add the Coke logo. Let's scale it down and add a fill to this layer to change the logo color to white. I'll create a very simple animation. I add a mask to the logo just double-click the rectangle tool and make the logo visible only when the camera zooms in. To do this, create a keyframe on mask path and another one about 30 frames later. At the beginning, position the mask so the logo is hidden. Add easy ease and increase mask feather. Let's fix the mask so that the text isn't visible at first. And just to be sure, let's crop it in the place where it should appear. Now I draw a line under the text. Use the pen tool, remove fill, and add a stroke with a thickness of 8. In the stroke parameters, find taper and set start to 40% and do the same for end. Next, we animate it using trim paths. Let the animation begin halfway through the logo appearance. In trim paths, set start to 50 and end to 50. Create keyframes and a few frames later, set start to 0% and end to 100%, so the line draws nicely from the center. We can still adjust the line thickness. Add easy ease. Finally, add some text underneath. Format the text and create a simple position animation. Create keyframes. At the beginning the text is above, and after 12 frames it moves to its final position. Create a mask that will hide the text up to the line, and use parent pick whip to parent the text to the mask. If we want the text visible outside the mask, we invert it. And the animation is done. Now we can adjust the text and logo placement on the screen, and it's ready. This might be the longest tutorial on my channel. I'm not even sure. That's all for today. Take care and see you in the next tutorial.